I don't think that anyone really wants to be judged before showing someone else who they are. I think everybody deserves to have an opportunity to show others who they are.
You're now listening to the Let's Talk About Life podcast, brought to you by Don't Settle, with your host, Harrison King. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Talk About Life podcast. My name is Harrison King, and we got a special guest here today. Someone special to me, and she's had quite the life. She's only 20 years old and has been through, well, I'm making it sound like it's dramatic. It's quite an incredible thing. Maria Aragon, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Harrison. My name is Maria. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, Canada, to a Filipino family. So my parents and my siblings immigrated here in 1996, and then in 2000 they had me. So while I was born and raised here, I grew up in a very Filipino household, and a part of being Filipino, I think a part of our culture is music is such a huge part of that. And karaoke is such a huge part of like any celebration that we had. And I think growing up, music was just always around. We were always singing. And once like my family discovered that it was something I loved to do, and something that they thought I was good at, they just decided to nurture it. And so I've been singing since I was really young, performing for my family or like for my close friends. And in 2008, I started posting covers of myself singing on YouTube just to share with my family from like across the globe. But then it became like much more of like a much bigger deal in 2011 when I posted a cover of myself singing Born This Way by Lady Gaga. I posted it on a Wednesday night, and the next morning Lady Gaga saw it and she tweeted about it. The video just got a lot of attention, and I had like a local radio station reach out to me and put me in contact with her, and then she invited me to perform with her. And then just so many events followed after that whole interaction with her. I obviously got to perform with her, and Ellen invited me to go on the show. I got to go to Good Morning America, got invited to do like a bunch of different things that I never expected to do at 10 years old. It was just like such an overwhelming but really informative experience at that age. And just like, I just went through so much that I guess really forced me to grow in a way that I otherwise wouldn't have at that age.
Yeah, it's quite the, like I said, the experience that, nobody else has. Not very many people have at that age. Obviously, it was an exciting thing, right? For you, but we don't want to, I guess, talk exactly all about that stuff. Let's talk about, like we said, let's talk about how it affected you. Because, in a way, I know you don't like to say it like this, but in a way, you were kind of, put into like fame for a short period of time, right?
Right.
And not exactly something that you asked for, and as a 10-year-old girl growing up and learning about life, and then you're put into that situation, how did it really affect you?
Right. So I think just from like an outsider's point of view, whenever someone hears about this story or whenever I tell this story, like the first immediate reaction to it is like, oh my God, that's so great. That's like amazing.
Right.
I can't believe you did that when you were really young. And I think that is like a feeling, a reaction that I also have. But I think there's a side to it that a lot of people also don't see, or people don't tend to see when they hear about things or see about things on like social media or something, obviously because they haven't experienced it. But I think
Right.
I'm happy to be talking about the other side of it and kind of my experience and like in a holistic kind of view. I think what the experience taught me, the biggest thing I think that it taught me was, I guess, just more about the world and about all different kinds of people, and through meeting a bunch of different people through the experiences that I have, I think I just have more empathy for people because of what I went through. And a lot of it was just having to deal with certain expectations that people, whether I knew them or not, had of me, and having to deal with that and kind of struggling with whether or not I wanted to adhere to that or just accept those expectations of me,
Right.
or decide to kind of do things for because I wanted to do them for me, because it was something that nourished me. So I think I dealt with just such a huge wave of attention that I don't think anyone should really have to deal with. And I think that caused me to just be really conscious of what other people thought about me. And again, like I said, those expectations, it made it really easy for me to kind of drown my own voice out. And that was something that I didn't really, well, I guess like a few days after the whole Lady Gaga thing happened, I had realized that like it was just really easy to get distracted by all these kind of like external, like flashy things
Right.
that I think that we tend to present, like on Instagram, for example, when we post something. Obviously, whatever we put on social media is curated in a way. And
Yeah.
and I think what people saw of kind of what I went through was just like I mentioned this to you before, like kind of the tip of the iceberg, but it was such a complex and mix of feelings that I went through.
Right. Well,
But
people
yeah,
only see what's being outwardly shown or whatever, right? And then they have their own
right.
opinions. That's why I kind of want to have this conversation because, like I said, based on what you say, it's like, oh, this is amazing
Yeah.
thing, and you should be so grateful that you had this
Right.
opportunity,
Yeah.
and blah
That.
blah blah, right? Which obviously you are, but like even now
Yeah.
you said like you have expectations to like, you know what I mean, like based on what you've done, like to
Yeah.
yeah, be so grateful for it or whatever, but like you didn't sign up for it.
Yeah, exactly. That I think that's a big thing when that happened to me, was that this amazing, this huge opportunity that came to me. I felt that obviously I was very grateful for it, but I also there was this huge expectation that I had to just accept it. And you got this, you were given this, be grateful for it. And sometimes
Right.
it felt as if there wasn't any space to listen to how I was feeling, and I kind of prioritized pleasing other
And how were
people.
you feeling?
And I think what I was feeling was that a lot of the times I felt, I think that it's kind of an extreme word, but like a little bit exploited, where I
Hmm.
had this like amazing story, and I felt that a lot of people like use that for their own gain. And I think that was something that was really eye-opening to me, is that I met people who like the intentions I felt were not completely pure. At the same time, it's like a juggle, because I was also gaining something out of the experience. So I learned that there are people who like have good intentions for you and obviously like want to support you, and there
Right.
are also other people who just kind of see it as an opportunity to gain something.
In that sense, like you're like they're, you're not a person to them. You're just
Right. So I
something to
felt
like an item, right?
exactly. I kind of felt more, I realized that I was starting to feel like kind of a
A
product,
product. That's
and
what I was gonna
like,
say. Yeah.
yeah, a product, and kind of like my own voice was being drowned out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that like even to this day, but like a few years later, was something that I could finally like say, oh, this is like not really how I want to feel.
Right.
Like I want to be able to, I wanted to be able to feel empowered by what I was doing, and to know that it was something that I chose to do, not just because it was like an expectation or something that I think, yeah, people would expect of me or
Right.
wanted me to do, but I wanted what I was pursuing to be something that felt right for me.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of a reason why I kind of stepped back. Like I was posting routinely on YouTube, and then I think like a while after the whole Born This Way thing, I kind of like took a pause,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt that, oh, I have a bunch of people like suddenly like watching me and
Right.
following me, that I have to like keep their attention,
For sure.
because
You're
like,
obligated to.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I think, yeah, it took me a few years to really realize that there's no one else that I should be listening to really, other than myself and what I
Hmm.
wanted to do. And I think I really needed time to kind of like chill out and kind of take a step back
Yeah.
from that kind of light,
Yeah.
and take some time with myself.
Yeah. The two things that come to mind that you're saying, obviously, you need to take time for yourself. And I want to relate this to, like, again, I know it's not the same. We've said this, but like, we judge celebrities very often, right? And they do things that we go, well, maybe that's not right or whatever. I want you to. We've kind of talked about it before, but like talk about that, because you were coming from obviously not the same extreme, but a perspective where people were judging you before they'd met you. And even you said, like,
Right.
even now, some people that were aware of that happened or whatever, they meet you and then they're like, they already know, they act like they already know you.
Right.
Talking to, I guess, sharing with people that have not been through something like this, that may be quick to judge or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So I think, yeah, 100%. I one of the weirdest kind of new experience that I had to deal with after the video went viral was that I would just have people like at the mall or something kind of come up to me and approach me and say, "Oh, you're the girl who sang with Lady Gaga,"
Right.
or like, "This happened to you." And even like up until high school, or even like to this day, but it's obviously not as oft doesn't happen as
Right.
often, but like people would just come up to me and recognize me and acknowledge my story, but it was like only kind of like that one thing
Right.
that
Because there's so much
that
more
they
to you
knew.
than just that.
Exactly. And I think that, yeah, and I think that people came up to me and had this idea of me already made up in their head, and I experienced this, I think, in high school when I was just surrounded by kind of a new environment with new
Mm-hmm.
people and trying to make new friends. And there were like those few people who knew about my story and would approach me in like a weird kind of way where they knew like about my story and what and things that I had done, but didn't really know me personally, but would approach me as if they already knew
Right.
me in a way. And I think that was challenging because I don't think that anyone really wants to be judged before
Right.
showing someone else who they are. I think everybody deserves to have an
For sure.
opportunity to show others who they are. And
That's definitely something that we do a lot.
it's something that we do a lot and it's natural, which is why when I do have those kind of interactions, I think it's important to like meet it with understanding, because like I also do that. Like, for example, like an example that I have is Beyonce.
Right.
Like I I completely idolize her and I think she is so amazing, but I don't know her. Like I
Right.
don't know her personally, so I can't really like vouch for her or say that she's amazing. I mean, I can only say things about her based on like what I know of her,
For
and
sure.
that's only based on like what I've seen on TV. So I think it's definitely easy to judge like a celebrity or something before even knowing them.
It's really interesting that you say that, because I was talking to somebody recently who met kind of somebody they idolized, and the person, doesn't matter who it was, but the person was extremely rude to them, and just
Right.
not at all what they thought they would be. and
Right.
and like you get these, this person was like was an athlete, but yeah, you met him, and then this person just did not care at all, like what this fan was saying. And there's like a phrase that says, you shouldn't, what is it, you don't meet your idols or whatever, like
Yeah, don't
you
be
should.
your heroes or
There you
something
go.
like
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sounds strange, but I think what that comes from is that, yeah, we have preconceived ideas about people.
Right.
Even, I mean, just day to day people. You see somebody, and based on their looks or whatever, obviously we do that
Right.
all the time. But you learn that at such a young age, I think, because it was
Right.
happening to you, right? How have
Yeah.
you brought that into your day to day life now that you're much older? But have you grown from that? Have you?
Yeah, when you brought that up, what you were saying about like that person meeting that athlete. Yeah, there's just like this idea that like these people, like these kind of like more public figures, that they owe you something. Like
Right.
they owe you kind of that interaction. I think everybody like there's like I think there should be like a standard kind of level of like manners and like
Right.
nice and like acknowledging people who support you, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, that's just like one expectation that I think should be changed, where
Yeah.
like these people that you don't even know, like they don't really owe you anything.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's interesting you brought that up. But I think now, obviously, like I don't really have that much of those interactions, but I think like over time, I kind of got better with it, and like I said, just trying to meet people with understanding. Like
For sure.
that was the biggest kind of take away from this.
How about for yourself
whole-
though? Like,
for
because you said
me.
like you judge people also. Has that changed since that? You know, because you've had that experience. You know what it's like being on the other side when you're seeing celebrities and people on TV or whatever it is, and how you treat them in your mind or whatever. Like, has that changed your thought process?
Yeah, I think, well, I think it depends. There's always like that, there's always that like one interaction, that one outlier, but I think,
Right.
but I think overall, like what I've learned, not just from this experience, but from life overall, I think it's just important to, yeah, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of extend just more empathy and more understanding.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely something that the other person will appreciate and something that you would appreciate
for
if it
sure.
was extended to you too.
Here's the question. People always, not always, but a lot of people like want to be famous, right? It's like a thing. And coming from, again, someone who's kind of experienced something similar, all I'm trying to say is that it's closer than, say I've gotten or most people. Is it all that, like being in the limelight, was it all that it was made up to be? Do you think that people like actually would want that? You know what I mean? If they were to experience it, because you have in a way.
Right. I feel like I experienced, yeah, definitely like some kind of semblance of recognition or like popularity. It was short-lived, and after experiencing that, I think there were definitely some like there were good parts and there were bad parts, as it is with like any kind of situation, but I
Yeah.
think this is definitely something that I only imagined to have gone through
Yeah.
before going through it. And I think the biggest thing that I learned was that it's important to check in with yourself and acknowledge your intuition, because I think I was handed this amazing opportunity of being put into the spotlight, and I don't think at that moment in time that I was ready for it. However, I just, because it came to me, I tried to accept it
Right.
with as much grace as possible. But I think what's important for people to recognize about that is it comes with a lot of, like I said, expectation from
Yeah.
people that you don't know, that you know too, from people that you know and from people that you don't know.
Right.
And I think that can be really weighing, like really, really heavy. Like there's gravity to
For sure.
that. And something that I was, and I still am, really conscious of. And I'm trying to be like less so. But I think that's one thing that people should know, is that it comes with so much expectation that it's so important to at all times just like check in with yourself and make sure that what you're doing is nourishing you and something that you're passionate about and want to be doing. And I think those are the right reasons, is if what you're doing is serving you, and if you're able to kind of handle everything else, then I think that it's worth it. But for me, I don't think that I was ready to have all those expectations placed on me again. Like I was 10 years old at the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And while this opportunity came to me, I don't think that I was ready for it. And I don't think any 10-year-old really is ready for it.
No.
Just to have all of that kind of responsibility on your shoulders.
There's
to,
lots of like adults that aren't ready for that, I
Right,
think.
right. So I think when if you're going to kind of dream about it or like think about it or like wanting to be famous, I think that there are kind of good aspects to that, because we all want to like be validated and recognized
Right.
with the things that we do and things that
Yeah.
we're passionate about and things that we share. But I think that it's important to know that a lot of the expectations that we have on being famous, and those are just kind of like external things, like outside things, very superficial things. And I think
For sure.
the kind of mindset that you should be having is to kind of work towards making yourself proud and doing things that would make you proud and fulfilled, and then kind of like the outside opinions are secondary to that.
Right. Instead of the other way around. It's still quite astounding to me that you have so much wisdom in that area, because you were put into it at such a young age, though. It's ridiculous.
Right.
We were talking the other day about,
Yes.
and you had mentioned, well, you already mentioned it once. You said people were just using you. We were talking about the radio stations and whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
which was
Well,
obviously would have been the case, but like I don't want to talk specifically about that, but just like
yeah.
society in general making people think like that, like to just take a 10-year-old who really didn't sign up for this. You said
Right.
somebody picked you up from school in like a limo. It's like you didn't.
Right.
What if you didn't want that?
Exactly. Well, I think for that to happen to me at such a young age, I think like looking back now, it's kind of bizarre just to kind of like have a 10-year-old kind of be what you're focusing on, like, or
Well, this
like
product, like
using,
you said,
yeah,
like
exactly.
it's
I
quite
felt
a
like I was kind of being used as a product. At the same time, I was also like benefiting from it. Like there
yes,
were things, it's kind of like a kind of a toss up, but I think me being 10 years old, like I wasn't really aware of that at the time. I just kind of took it as something to like to have gratitude for and be grateful for. But yeah, like realizing that a few years later was a little bit tough, just to know that people were only really interested in me because I would like gain traffic for whatever they
for
were doing,
them.
whether for
Yeah,
them, whether it was a show
right.
or an event or something like that. And yeah, I think that's kind of something that not it happens all the time in all sorts of situations where we kind of a lot of the times use each other, but for the wrong reasons, and it's
Right, for
not kind of
personal
like a
gain or whatever.
an exact like for
Yeah.
personal gain, or it's not an equal kind of it's not a balanced situation.
No. I think
And
it probably comes from like being so focused on money and like even social media,
right,
like likes and stuff. Like
exactly,
it's like
money
it's again the
for sure.
popularity but it's mainly the money thing, and it's like
Right.
people's feelings and like how it affects you. Like nobody cared probably
Yeah,
that you were 10 years
exactly.
old, and that this
Exactly.
could have been a traumatizing experience if you just hated being in the limelight, right?
Right.
Like they
Yeah.
just assumed obviously you were
Well, it was yeah, it
fine-ish
was
with it.
yeah,
But I think that's where it comes from. That's what I would say. Like it's kind of
for
astounding to
sure.
me that people just that happens. Like that's
For
their
sure, just for like anything. Yeah, I think just in kind of the way the world works is that it's like kind of the underlying thing. Like it's like a reason why we chase things, and sometimes it's not intentional, but I think I kind of realized that a few years after was
yeah.
that I felt yeah, that I was being exploited in some ways in certain situations. But like with anything, with any experience in life, you just take it and view it in a way that serves you. And I think for
Mm,
this whole experience that I went through when I was younger, I take it as something that has taught me so much, allowed me to grow, and just brought me a lot of new experiences. Like I wouldn't have
right.
been able to, go on a plane for the first time, like
Right.
or try all different kinds of foods, or just like hear different languages in like in
Hmm.
real life. So like yeah, with anything, it's good and bad. It comes with both, and I think you just have to decide for yourself whether this situation is something that was good or bad. But I think it's important to view it in a way, like I said, that serves you. And I think I just try to view that whole kind of time in my life as something to be grateful for, like a
Right.
teacher.
That still doesn't take away the fact that they were using you, and I don't have obviously the answer, but like, what would you have preferred to feel like you were kind of the more important thing? Do you know what I mean? Like people cared about you and how you were feeling instead of just here she is. We can get her on the show and get listens or whatever it is, right? What kind of stuff, just as I think as a society, would you think we could start to like put focus on to make the money thing, the success thing, less of a priority? Obviously, it's not going to happen right away, maybe ever,
Right.
but it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, well, I think also something that I want to acknowledge about that whole thing was, again, like for anything, for any show or whatever, we bring people in to kind of a lot of the times for like for personal gain, or for the show, or for
Right.
like money to get
Yes.
attention for,
Yeah.
but I what I liked
That's not what
about
this is, by the way.
I know, no, I'm getting there. But what I liked about what kind of what I was going through, and kind of like the story of like my whole discovery, was that I realized that it was also inspiring for some people, and that's
Hmm.
something that really made me happy and brought me joy was that what I was doing was making other people happy. And so that was another kind of way to view it for me, was that people saw what I was doing as inspiring, like little kids. Like I received letters from schools. Teachers had like kids write letters about like the video and stuff, like from like a local elementary school, and like just like things like that, or like tweets I would get just about how my story and me sharing like my music was inspiring to them.
Right.
And I think that was something that I appreciated as part of this whole experience, to have that platform.
Yeah.
And Born This Way is a song about acceptance of all different kinds of people, of everyone. And I think that's something that I'm really proud of, to have kind of put on a pedestal and to be put in the spotlight in a positive way.
Right.
That's something that I'm really grateful looking back on that experience. But I think if I were to change anything about that experience, I think I would have just appreciated more conversation and more kind of personal heart to heart, which is why I appreciate this opportunity to kind of share more about this experience in my life, because I rarely do get it and I rarely talk about it, because it comes with a lot of negatives.
Right.
I don't want to call them negatives, but it comes with a lot of it came with a lot of lows that most people don't know about, and most people don't really like care about often.
Yeah.
But I think if at the time when I was 10 years old, if more people kind of checked in with me and like just like asked me how I felt about what was going on, as opposed to expecting that I would be okay with a lot of the things that I was doing because that's how they viewed it, I wish that I had more of a say, or I was asked more about how I felt. And if I had more kind of conversations and more people checked in, like adults checked in to like ask me how I was doing, I think I would appreciate that. And I think that's also something that you really advocate for, is like communication, or just like having conversations with different people. And I think to a degree I was able to again meet a lot of different people from different like walks of life, and from doing different things from different places. And I was able to reach a lot of people and have like really intimate conversations with people, and those conversations I'm really grateful for, and though they wouldn't have happened if I hadn't
For sure.
posted this video and gone through this. So
Yeah. If you could do it all again right now, not being 10 years old, would you do it?
I think I would do it all over again, like knowing now what I know. But I'm saying that because I feel like I would come at it with just more self-confidence, and yeah, just being more confident in who I was and
Right.
my vision, as opposed to being confident in the image that was given to me, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, I would do it again, but I wouldn't kind of change what has already happened, because like it formed who I am today. Again, like any experience, whether good or bad, is really meaningful and important to your journey. So I would do it again, because I experienced like so many amazing things.
Right.
But I think I would I would come into it obviously like with more with wisdom, as with anything.
Yeah, for
like,
sure. The interesting thing you said, you already mentioned it once, is kind of like, I guess in the sense, nothing is inherently good or bad. It's how you choose to look at it. So you could take that
Right.
experience and see it as a bad thing, that people didn't
Right.
treat you the right way or whatever, or that it was phenomenal or in the middle, whatever you want. And I think that's something that we just forget in general, that like we kind of see things as being, this is good, this is bad or whatever. But I mean, you can make anything good, or see it that way, I guess, like you said, as a lesson or whatever, right?
Yes. And also I think something that I'm currently working on, and something that I want to remember, is to kind of let go of any attachment that I have to the past. Yeah, just like staying in the present and just trying to do the next right thing. And if that doesn't work out, then I'll do the next right thing after that.
Right.
And not be so attached to the past. And that's why I would kind of rather look back on things as good things, even though in the moment they felt like really heavy. Everything that I've gone through in the past, in the way that I view it, is good, because it's brought me to this place, and now I can take what I've learned from that and just move forward. And yeah, I think what I'm working on now is not to be so attached to, I guess, the heavier emotions from the past, and kind of view it as something that is like freeing me to move forward with whatever I want to do next.
How do you make that switch though?
It's so difficult. It's so difficult. It's something that I think you have to work on, and I'm still working on it's an everyday thing.
For sure.
So I think it's just something that you have to take day by day, and you have to make a conscious effort to view things as like teachers. Every moment is significant.
Viewing the moment as a teacher is what you mean.
Yeah. And anything that comes to you, anything that comes your way.
Right. Yeah. It's a lesson to be learned. It's teaching you something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about a couple episodes ago, like anything that happens is something. Like it's maybe good, it may be bad, but it's
Right.
either moving you forward or backward, but it's moving you, therefore it's significant, right?
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting way to think about it. And it's good to hear that you view it in that way too, right? Like that you can take the good and the bad and whatever and just see it as a lesson.
Yeah. And that kind of ties into with like this expectation or this image that I think like I have of myself, or my close like family or friends have of me, or like complete strangers on the internet have of me.
Yeah.
I think for anyone, I think it's really important to kind of let that all go. And like I said, not be attached to it, because we have to keep going, keep moving forward. And I think just try to let it go if you can, because in doing that, it just like allows you to breathe and not have your experiences be clouded by your emotions all the time. And I think that is something
trying to see it for what it actually is, not based on how you're feeling or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is obviously a challenging thing to do, and
It's challenging.
but it's nice to talk about, because it's not always like the forefront of what people are thinking about, right? It's
No, but
oftentimes it's easy to just focus on the emotions or how you feel about something instead of the actual experience, and then going, okay, what is, looking at it objectively, like analytically, more so than just based on your feelings. Obviously it's important to think with your feelings too, but depends on the situation.
And I think we can use our feelings as tools to navigate us to kind of the next step, as opposed to sitting with them for too long. I think that I do that often, where I just kind of sit with this oftentimes like negative emotion.
Yeah.
But I can use it as a tool. I can feel it, allow myself to feel it, but then use it as a tool to kind of, okay, so this doesn't feel right with me, or this doesn't align with me, or
Right.
so then now I know not to kind of go that way next time, and just
Right, for sure.
follow something else,
Yeah. Wow. That's good stuff. That's really, really great to have you chat about that stuff, and more than just the surface level, oh, woo, she had a bunch of views on a video and met Lady Gaga. Because obviously there's more to you than that, and there's more to the experience than that. So I'm glad you were wanting to share some of that. I hope we were able to get that across.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't want to sound like ungrateful for that time at all.
Oh, for sure.
Because I am so grateful. Like it was one of the like most life-changing things that has ever happened to me. At the same
100%.
time, I think it is important for people to understand that those kind of experiences that appear to be like milestones or like really important steps, they're just steps.
Right.
We have to keep moving forward. I think that's what everyone should know, is that we need to keep moving forward. Allow our pasts to teach us, but don't let that stop you from going where you're meant to go and fulfilling your purpose,
Wow, wise words from Maria Aragon. No, that's wonderful. But yes, thanks everybody for listening, and remember to keep loving life, and we'll chat with you next week. If you're interested in more content like this, go check out our website at don'tsettleofficial.ca. We're dedicated to providing resources, information, and content designed to assist you on your journey of personal growth, and most of all, to help you live life to the fullest. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll chat with you next time.